And quite frankly, I'm a very sensitive person growing up in an insensitive environment.
Yeah.
So that's what I have been fighting against. That's what I've been learning. That's why I'm not okay. Like, people literally would rather ignore me than listen to the truth. They would rather walk away from me than hear what I actually have to say. Most people really only like me when I'm helping them. That's what I've learned. So fuck them. I'm going to start helping myself. And I do that by understanding my emotion, by talking about it, not only by not like too many people are like, stop being emotional, just put it away. What I really hear them saying is, we don't know how to be emotional and you're upsetting us by being
Yeah,
emotional.
you're
It would
making
be
us feel
better for us.
uncomfortable.
It would be better for us if you just stopped.
Yeah.
And then what I hear is, oh, you can't handle me? Okay, stay away from me. Like, I'll go find people that can handle me and want to actually listen, which is a lot less than I had hoped or wanted. Thank you to all of those who have subscribed recently. That has been a huge boost. Don't think that we haven't noticed. We love the comments, we love the engagement, we love the views. And the thing that helps us the most is every time our subscribers go up, we reach more people and we're able to keep producing higher quality videos. So please, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and let's get on to the show. Welcome to Bear It All, the Kintsugi Chronicles, here on the I Am Not Okay channel, where we gather our broken pieces in search of gold. My name is John Bear, and with me today on the Momcast is MJ Bear. MJ, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good today, John. How are you?
I can't complain. Things have been interesting since our last podcast.
Is that
Yeah,
good or bad?
interesting. I wouldn't say good or bad. I would just say it's been interesting learning what it is we need to learn in order to grow and do what we need to do in the podcast.
Right?
Yeah, it's been interesting and it's taken its time. So, what have you been up to? What's new with you?
Cleaning,
What kind of cleaning?
house cleaning.
Yeah, let
Look,
me see.
I'm getting there. You see?
I can.
I gotta move all that shit, but I've been
Yeah, well,
cleaning every damn thing.
good. That's
Touched everything, cleaned everything. Now I'm putting the shit away. Organizing closets. I'm doing the whole thing. And I also started cleaning out my car, dude.
what do
So
you think has prompted all that?
you,
Why?
because that one day you said to me, geez, mom, let's clean up your car. And I decided,
Uh,
you know what? If John says that to me, it's time to do it. So I started.
well, I have
And
found
I did
that
it then.
like keeping the office clean and the gym clean and then my house, like I went through everything in my house too. Like when I moved in, that was like it was like a mental scrub. Like all the shit that I was dragging along, I was like, get rid of what I don't need, and then everything else is kind of like I either can use this later or come back to it and it has a purpose, but I'm not just carrying extra shit around, you know?
Well, that's what you were saying right before we started the call. Remember
Yeah.
that you keep stuff, Holly keeps stuff, and I do. I know I do. I run across things still to this day that other people would throw away. And if I died tomorrow, you'd look at it and say, "What the hell is this? Why is mom keeping this?"
Yeah. I and I don't want to be the one that's like, come on, mom, you have to get rid of this. It'd be more like, mom, why are you keeping this? And if you don't have an answer, then like I think, that's the answer. Same with me. Like I'm starting to do that to myself is like, John, what okay, why do you have this thing? Why do you keep moving it? Like the paper, all that paper I had, I was like, all right, enough.
Oh
Give it to
yeah,
the
I gave that
boys.
to Holly for the kids.
They'll fucking at least they'll use it, or it's out of my zone and it's in a different place where it's not just sitting there anymore. It's like little rocks or anchors that kind of, I don't know, it feels very freeing, mentally and physically to kind of like keep around what I know I'll use and I know the kind of things I'm going to use. But if it's something where I'm like, I don't know why I would use this, then it's probably got to go.
What about, I know why I keep some of the shit I keep.
Yeah.
And it's all, I don't want to say sentimental because it's not all sentimental, but some of these things that I keep are tangible aspects to my past life. And sometimes I need to remind myself where I came from. And in conjunction with that, how far I've come from this point to this point. But the real question is, do I need this stuff? So I've been thinking about just filming it and saying, all right, kids, here's this thing that I've kept all these years. Let me tell you why I kept it. Then you'll have it recorded and I can get rid of the thing because I'll have that video saying this is why I kept it. And I can go back to a video, a digital asset, right? And look at it and say, okay, now I remember where I came from. And I think I mentioned this before, John. I don't have anyone in my life who knows me before a certain point in time.
Yeah.
You knew me in 1981, but let's be real.
I didn't really
I've been your mom. Right, exactly. I'm your mom. You don't know who the person was before.
Nope.
Does it matter to you? I don't know. It matters to me. So if I record it and document it, at some point you might want to know that shit in the future. I don't know.
Well, yes, you're hitting on something there. I think that's where we kind of came to the fork in the road with the podcast stuff is like, there are things that you clearly need to talk about that go into like your childhood further. And it's not that I don't want to know them or talk about them. It's like certain aspects of your childhood that are, I guess, challenging for me to hear. Like,
That I can understand.
and I feel like I have listened to some version of the same story that keeps coming up, and I get challenged with like, what are we doing with this? Like, I'm hearing the same things. I don't understand why. And that's how my brain works. And I don't like when I feel like I'm constantly spinning around in the same place, like it's like trying to tell me something. Why? What is going on? Like, it's not to keep banging my head against the wall. And I don't think that's what you're doing. I don't live in your head. I don't know what the thing to say is in order to assist you moving around. Or like, can you answer, like, why do you have to keep talking about that same thing? And if it comes to like, I don't know why, just I do. Okay, I don't. So
Yeah,
you have to go talk about it in a space where you can, and I can choose to go listen to it if I want. And
that
that's
makes
where
sense.
I've found like I want to kind of work with you. Is there like, I
I know why
not
I
who I
do it,
know
John.
exactly who Poppy and Mimi was, but I get a sense of it. I really do. And without them being here now and without like sort of other people's recollections of them, I really have like your version, my version, and what's in between there that kind of stacks up to whatever kind of truth I could come up with. So that's what I've been reconciling in my head.
When I'm in a situation like that, John, what I do is this. There are things I know about certain situations, right? If I'm involved in it, or if I've been a part of it, or if I've learned about it, I know about a situation. And then I hear new information about a similar situation in the future. I take what I know versus what I've heard, and I take this new information and I stack it up against what I know is true from my experience, right? And I say, does this dovetail with what I already know? Does this sound completely outlandish? Or does it actually jive with what I already know? Now, I've said this before, and I don't think you understood what I meant. Do you know who my father was? And you say, yeah, I know who your father was. But what I mean by that is Poppy was so exacting in the things he did when he was at the top of his game. From, you heard that letter. You sent me a letter, and on page 7, second paragraph, 3 lines down. I mean, he's that exacting. That's who I've become, is equally as exacting in terms of this information in order to try to counteract my father. I know why I'm doing it. And this is who I've evolved to be as a result of all of that stuff. And what I'm hoping at some point in the future is that you and Holly will be able to sit down and say, holy shit, now I understand why my mother was such a fucking nut. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't know that about my family. I don't know my father's father. I don't know anything about Mimi's father, really, other than he died. All I know is he died when she was 10. And the only thing I've seen of her father was the bill of sale for his headstone. That's all I know about my mother's father. And it bugs me to not know these things. It bugs me not to know. My father has an entire family. I have a family. You have a family we don't know anything about. And I look back over my life and I think, here's Jimmy with muscular dystrophy and ocular albinism. These are two conditions that have never cropped up in this family before or since. Where did that gene come from? Tina's a carrier. The female is always the carrier for muscular dystrophy. Where did it come from? The family we don't know anything about. Laura died from leukemia. Nobody ever had leukemia. Katie had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. You see what I'm saying? These are conditions that, because we don't know all these people, will crop up in our lives somehow or another. When it comes to our children's health, Andrea and I weren't afflicted with that, but Tina was. Was it because she was a twin? Was it because my father's family carries these? These things keep me awake at night. I know it doesn't mean anything to you.
That's not true. Don't put words in my mouth.
Okay. What I mean is, it didn't have to be this way.
Correct.
And I don't want it to be that way for you and Holly. And by extension, the boys. So again, someday, me talking about these things on video, I want you to be able to go back and listen to something if you really want to know. And if you don't, okay, you don't have to know. But at least I get to verbalize it. Something I didn't have that I think is important.
Well, I mean, that just saying it and even saying it to the camera, even if nobody's there, something is listening, and getting
Exactly.
out of you is what you need, I believe. And what I've learned is that, like, I want it to come out. Like, it would be, I don't know if easier is the right word, but editing your podcast of talking about all this helps me learn it more and understand
That
it
I can
more.
understand,
And like
actually.
watching through that part of it, watching you go through it versus like being there as your therapist or person to bounce off of. I don't think that's the role that I would play best in that situation with you.
I don't really
And
think I need somebody in that capacity.
correct. I don't think
For
you do
me,
either.
just the act of being able to say it, and by virtue of saying it and then listening back, like I said, I hear things differently. I'm picking up on things, mannerisms of mine that lead me into another memory. It all ties together for me.
Well, then that's why it's important, I think, for you when you're ready to start coming down and
Yeah.
start doing some of your solo ones where we can, and then we could even take chunks of that and wind it into some of the ones where we're like, yo, I saw your, the one where you were talking about this thing in Poppy, and then we put that clip
Oh,
in,
right. Put the clip
and
in,
then,
right.
you know what I mean? Like, so we can,
You have a repository of data right there.
yeah. And I think if that's like your process and what you need to do, then I want to empower that instead of get in the way of it. And I think for me, we hadn't kind of clearly defined how we were going to exactingly defined how we were going to work on this thing together. And
We didn't
both
have a
of both of
blueprint.
us clearly want like to do it, and we moved forward with it and we got some kind of iteration done. And now I think we can keep moving forward in the sense of like, you go and you talk about the solo things you want, you hop in on some of these ones where we're going to bring some of these people in, these guests, or
Exactly.
I fly solo with a guest and you listen to it and then we talk about it and wrap things in. So there's lots of different ways that we could probably go about doing that.
And it'll keep shit interesting.
Well, all of the above. But honestly, I I just want to start having conversations and asking people questions that are ready to answer them. Like I'm so goddamn tired of fucking having side conversations in the back of my gym where nothing ever comes to light. Like you just literally talked about, I need to get it out, and then I can like, even if the thing's listening and it's not a person, I got it out. Well, for me, I want to get out the questions that I have, and I want to hear them, somebody answer them. Like I don't want to just keep in my head like, I wonder why this is this way, and I wonder why this is this way, and who does this, and like I'm infinitely curious and have nobody to like bounce that off of. Eventually, I'm going to like run into my own ends, and I that's becoming like maddening, because I'm not reconciling anything. I'm just constantly questioning, and when I can sit down with people and have them answer questions about things that I'm curious about, it helps me understand me more because then I can reconcile it against what I know about me and whatever this evidence now shows and brings to light. Thank you for making it this far in our show. If you're feeling overwhelmed, that's okay. Just know that you're not alone, that we're here with you, and we're going to work through this together. If you need some help or assistance, dial 988 or head over to our website, www.iamnotok.com. www.iamnotok.com for a space where you can breathe. And if you want to send us an email and let us know how you're doing, we can get back to you as soon as we can and make sure that you're on the right path. Now, back to the show.
Well, let me ask you this question. You're talking about these things and you're asking the questions. And until we build an audience that understands what we're doing and how we're doing it, you're going to continue to ask questions. Ultimately, however, there's going to be feedback from other people answering these questions. And I think that's the problem here is you want those questions coming in now, right? You want to hear that feedback now because you feel like you put out so much information, but the audience has to build itself, and then you're going to get the feedback. Then you're going to get answers to questions you asked a year ago, 2 years ago. You know what I mean?
I mean, I do, but I'm not going to wait a year to start asking things that I want to know now.
No, no. You're going to ask the questions all along. What I'm saying is ultimately you're going to be getting feedback, immediate feedback. And then people are going to go back and watch the older videos and they're going to say, hey, John, what happened here or what happened there? It's going to bring you back to something you talked about, right?
Agreed.
And you can look at it from a completely different perspective at that point. Now you have input from people with zero emotional attachment to you or to me or to Holly. And that makes a huge difference.
It does.
When you're emotionally wrapped up in this shit, logic seems to take a back seat or just goes on vacation.
That's how our brain is designed. Like, so
right.
I think we should probably start talking to that.
But we have to get outside of our own emotions, which is why I like talking to the camera, because I'm talking.
I know.
Yeah,
but
I cry like, sometimes,
but it's like easier. You can't just say like, well, you have to get out of your own emotions. Some people don't know how to do that. So just telling them that isn't the answer. And that's where like true. I agree with you. It's not getting out of your emotions. It's actually listening to what emotions come up and then not overreacting to them so that we can access logic and think about those things clearly, you know, without the reactivity and all of that, which because of what we went through, you and I have, Holly has. I saw that clearly with her and Dad. Like it's in there. And so
yeah, she just needs to get it out.
Well, she does too. So we all need places to get it out. But what was interesting is like we don't know that until we're in a situation that brings it out. And sometimes, you know, you don't realize what it is until you're in it. And like we talked about that too. It was like thoughts that we had forgot about or things that we had forgot about that now, like because we had that conversation with Dad or we talk with you a little more, then it allows us to access things that we had kind of shut off. So yes, it's important for us to talk, but it's also important for us to listen and to get feedback from others that are unbiased to me, you, and Holly,
Right.
or they have like they're not emotionally attached. Like, so I think the emotion is good when it's understood, and then there's like the passion behind that. The emotion becomes challenging when it's the thing blocking logic.
I think what I'm trying to say as far as the emotion, John, is when you're in the middle of these situations in an emotional situation, you're taking in a tremendous amount of data all the time, right? Just in life in general, we take in a tremendous amount of data, but we don't use all the information we take in as we're taking it in. It gets filed in the back of the brain. It's like,
Yeah.
well, I got to put that on a back burner. Someday I'll come back to it.
But do
And
you
then
know
we
what the back of
forget
the
about
brain
the thing.
stores? Like the
Memory.
back of the brain is what stores emotions.
Yeah. Memory,
The
emotion
front of the brain, like right here,
keeps
maybe
you
is
alive. Right.
right. Well, then now that's what this is like what we say, like we think with. This is like the logic and analytics right here. But in order to access analytics and logic, it has to go up your brainstem and through this huge part of your emotional lizard brain. So what I'm like, literally what science is showing is you cannot think logically if you are activated emotionally. So I think the
Yes, that's
conversation
exactly
has
what
to
I'm trying to
be
get to. Yeah.
is like talking about and showing and teaching people how we have been activated emotionally, what we're doing to turn that off so that now all of us can access logic together.
Right. And now just looking at the circumstances of what happened, right? Or you're looking at the circumstances of how you reacted in a particular situation.
Right.
The John today, would he do the same thing you did 20 years ago? The answer should be no, because you've learned from that,
I mean,
right?
for the most part, there's some things I'll still do because some of those parts were never broken, but there's a lot of things I would probably do um, more evolved, more efficiently, or better. Yeah, sure.
What I find interesting when you guys were talking to each other about talking to your dad, and Holly was kind of adamant, I don't need to talk to him. I don't need to talk to
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
And like you said, as soon as the floodgate opened,
She did need to talk to him.
just because she didn't know. And I hope that it showed her that just even by being able to say those things will make a difference for her down the line. You know what I mean? She's holding on to all of this
Yes.
and doesn't talk about it all that much. I think because she doesn't want to fall apart. But there's nothing wrong with being emotional when something touches you that deeply, as long as you understand that's what's happening.
Yeah, well, nobody in our family has allowed us to be okay talking about hard shit. That so she doesn't
Nobody
even,
ever in the families,
well,
ever.
that's why like she does that. That's why I did it. That's why like it is important for us to like stop doing that.
Let me
Like,
ask you a question. Do you consider me overly emotional?
no.
Okay, see, I don't either. And like I said, there are times when I'm talking about something and the tears just flow. I don't stop what I'm talking about. I don't point out the fact that I'm crying. I keep powering through it because the emotion is hitting me. Shit, I forgot how bad this felt. And then being able to discuss it logically is what propels me forward. So I don't ever want to come across as an emotional basket case. And I think because I've been accused of being an emotional basket case all these years by my family and by Brad because I'm crazy, that I almost started thinking of myself that way.
I mean, they have a few events where you were touched emotionally and you showed that. So the reaction that oh, she's over emotional because she flipped out in court and yelled at Brad or whatever. Like none of them are putting themselves in your shoes as to why you would react that way.
They
They're
push you,
just
push you, push you to the edge. Then they push you over and watch you fall.
exactly. And then they're saying, see, we told you she was that way. And
And the
Like
term for that
I
is
see
reactive
that as a
abuse. Yeah,
manipulation tactic, and
that's
that's
exactly what it is.
like not okay. And the converse of that is like dad, like when he was talking to me, basically what he was saying to me and Holly is like on this, where you guys are overly dramatic, and some of the things that you're talking, it's just like, if anything, he has like zero emotional intelligence to me, or like very little, in the sense that like he thinks everything should be logic because he wasn't allowed to be emotional either. That was clearly beat out of him or bred out of
Oh,
him
I
or
agree.
whatever.
I agree with that 1,000,000%.
And same with you. Like it was, you weren't allowed to express yourself emotionally.
No, you
So
couldn't be anything other than what you were told you were supposed to be.
and quite frankly, I'm a very sensitive person growing up in an insensitive environment.
Yeah.
So that's what I have been fighting against. That's what I've been learning. That's why I'm not okay. Like people literally would rather ignore me than listen to the truth. They would rather walk away from me than hear what I actually have to say. Most people really only like me when I'm helping them. That's what I've learned. So fuck them. I'm going to start helping myself. And I do that by understanding my emotion, by talking about it, not only by not like, too many people are like, stop being emotional, just put it away. What I really hear them saying is, we don't know how to be emotional, and you're upsetting us by being
Yeah,
emotional.
you're
It would
making
be
us feel
better for us.
uncomfortable.
It would be better for us if you just stopped.
Yeah.
And then what I hear is, oh, you can't handle me? Okay, stay away from me. Like I'll go find people that can handle me and want to actually listen, which is a lot less than I had hoped or wanted. However, it's actually what I want is, like, I want people who will listen to me the way I listen to them. And I'm finding there's not many that are able to.
There really aren't. And I'll tell you what, this is something Papa told me 1,000,000 years ago, and it's held true all this time. If you have less than a handful of good friends in all of your lifetime, consider yourself rich. Very few people have the capacity to be the kind of friend that we need them to be. So if you don't expect anything from anyone, you'll never be disappointed. And remember, a handful of people that you can truly count as a friend over the course of your lifetime, you're a rich person in that regard.
I have
There
a
are
few of
very
them.
few people. Yeah,
I have a few, and
right. And but you're not, the point is, John, you're not going to have a ton of great friends in that regard.
I understand that.
Right. So we take care of the ones that we do have.
Correct.
When you find somebody in your life that you think is your friend, if you step back and you're like, wait a minute, when it comes to this friend, I'm the one that's pulling all the weight. I'm the one asking how they're doing. I'm the one going when they need me. I'm the one doing this for them. And when you need something, oh, nobody's around. Right.
Correct. No, well, not with my real friends, but with the other people. That's what I learned.
The fair weather friends.
And some hanger-oners, people that will, until you make them understand that your boundary has changed, they'll hang on because you keep giving them something. Pretty recently, my boundaries have changed. Like if you, people that aren't talking to me for real, or people that will tell me a lie versus the truth, I I make it really painful for them to hang around me, because I, it's not that I'm mean to them, but I've found that I believe like my body's modus operandi now is like, anybody who's not capable of teaching you the truth, incessantly question them until they go away from you. Because basically what I do then is they reveal that they're not going to show me who they are. So I question them until they come up against who they are. And it makes them go away from me.
Well, you weren't always ready to know who you were.
That's exactly. It's not like
I mean, I'm the same way.
it's not
I'm
like a
sure it's
mean,
all
like
of us.
I'm trying to, it's more like, yo, are you the kind of person who will lean into discomfort, or are you the kind of person who runs away from it? And if you run away from it, keep running. I'm looking for people that lean into it. That's where growth happens. That's where our relationships get better. That's where life happens. There's too many people that I allowed to take time, effort, money, resources, because I decided for whatever reason pleasing them was more important than pleasing myself. Now I'm pleasing myself and I find out who's okay with that and who's not. And it's a lot less people that are okay with it, but I'm a lot more okay with that.
Okay. That's perfect.
So that, I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's just over these last few years, and it's coinciding with like, I'm really ready to be a real business owner. I am ready to this message that we're attempting to work on, like put it worldwide, not just like have conversations in the fucking gym anymore. And a lot of people are uncomfortable with that. That's what I'm finding. If you can't be on board with my mission, like in my life, you can be an acquaintance that we every so often on Facebook, you like one of my posts or something, but like somebody who I would call or who would call me, who needs me, or I would need them, like I would want them to be able to come to my gym and listen to the podcast. And conversely, I would want to be a part of whatever mission they have going in life because I believe in them and I believe in what it is that they're working towards. And that kind of stuff is important to me. And I want to surround myself with people who are not like crabs in a bucket, like, oh, you're doing really well, but like, watch out for that thing over there. You're not that smart. You probably shouldn't do that. Stay away from that thing. That's really not for you. I don't need people like that. I already know what I'm not good at. I already know what I'm bad at. I don't need people to keep telling me what I suck at and what I'm challenged at. And I don't need people to, yes, good job, John. Good job. Pat on the butt. I just need people to be
How do you
honest and
grow?
truthful.
Yeah. You don't
Well,
grow if somebody's kissing your ass all the time.
how do you know that though if you're not fucking growing? You think you're growing, but you're not. And then you're fucking frustrated and pissed off all the time because you're surrounded by douchebags. That's where I was for a long time. I was just angry, but I was like not growing because I was allowing myself to be pulled back to them. I wasn't growing beyond them.
Well, maybe you were growing beyond them and you had to get out of your exoskeleton so you could grow a new one.
Maybe. I don't know. I just
Like a crab.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just at a point where I'm just not gonna think about what everybody else needs first. I'm gonna think about what I need first and go from there.
That's what you should do.
Yeah, well, that's not what I was taught growing up.
Honey, I know what you were taught. I'm part of that chain gang too.
Good. Well, then you do the same thing. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. MJ, we'll see you soon. All right.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to our show. If you're interested in how we've gotten this far, I've put together a small guide that has a 3-step process at no cost. You can get that at www.iamnotok.com/truth. www.iamnotok.com/truth. Thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you on the inside. Be well.